And we are back, continuing our series on brain-computer interfaces. We're past the introduction, and we're on to the main first section, which is called brain-computer interfaces. So let's crack on directly through the paper. The human brain is claimed to be the most complicated human organ, which could be compared to a very powerful and complex computer, where until today, no one was able to recreate and simulate successfully its entire structure. Yeah, I think the guys that study immunity would also say stuff like the immune system, right? If you include all the parts of it, which so the lymphatic and all of the both the innate and the coded immune system. So there's some other bits that give it a run for its money, but I think the brain's got a good shot for sure. We definitely have a very, very complicated brain. Recently, very rapid development of medicine and information technology and their combination started the era of brain-computer interfaces, particularly in their non-invasive version based on encephalography, which is scanning and attaching to the brain. Yeah, so because as much as it being super awesome and sci-fi, people don't like having brain surgery, and they don't like having wires and plates put on their skulls and their brains drilled into to have computers attached to their brains. Only the hardcore, yeah. Yeah, only the few, the brave, the bold. Most people would rather have something that they just stick on the top of their head, yeah, if they possibly could. Yeah, you'd rather not have that one. So a lot of the development has been there, for personal taste reasons. It is possible to divide BCIs into invasive and non-invasive systems, usually for either type of BCI, information exchange between the brain and a computer, or any other device part of a BCI system, constitutes data that is being processed in real time. Yeah, that's a big one. So we're not talking about scans of brains that are then being, looked at and processed and then modeled and things like that. Yeah, we're talking, for brain-computer interfaces, we're talking real time. Yeah, that has certain. That's why it took time for this technology to develop, because that has certain properties, right? So you're getting a lot of data. It's coming in all the time. You've got to process it in real time. You've got to be able to do all that, yeah? For that purpose, each brain activity has to be measured either directly or indirectly. Yeah, so like with any data source, you could maybe take a secondary feature, rather than the main one. Or you could take a primary feature and then collapse it into something simpler, so extract a signal from it, transform it break it down into the key parts. Yeah. So sometimes you've got that with like sleep. So you can talk about the different types of, sleep patterns and brain waves that emerge at different types of sleep. This is far removed from the neurological activity that is occurring in sleep, right? This is a second, third, fourth order effect, right? Like what's it look like when we scan it out? So these things are indirect measures of activity, and some of them are useful and some of them maybe not so much. Direct connection means measurement of electrical activity the brain generates, so that's EEG. Or indirect connection can be defined by, and here's some of the other examples. So blood oxygen measurements, so that's like how much blood flow is getting to different parts of the brain. Functional resonance magnetic imaging, so fMRIs, and functional infrared spectroscopy, FNIRSs, right? So various different scans of the brain, but we're not talking about the primary electrical activity, right? I mean, if we were going to really drill down, we wouldn't just be interested in what neurons were firing. We want to know exactly what neuropeptides in exactly what concentrations were being used at all times. So even the electrical, I'd say the electrical is much closer to a real-time complete signal, but it's not the whole picture. There's a lot of other stuff going on in there, yeah. And maybe they're, got to put my my statistician hat on, and say, what about second order and interaction terms and stuff? Yeah, what happens when blood flow interacts with electrical activity? What happens when peptide, what happens to if you've got a firing pattern that changes when dopamine levels are artificially elevated, say with some, something that's dopamigenic, like cocaine or something, right? So, so we know it's not just the signal pattern, sequence and rhythm, right? So it's not just like when it happens, it's also all the other stuff, right? So, and this is the problem with biology, is you get these kind of effects, right? So, it's not enough to know the genome. Yeah, we thought that was the thing. Like, you're going to get the same thing. The delayed effect of brain technology is going to, my prediction of it is going to be very much, it's going to be the same thing that we got with the human genome, right? So we thought that was it. Like, when we landed, we got it, boys and girls. We got the whole genome, right? Like, massive effort, well done, clap on the back. Now we're going to figure everything out. We're going to know every gene. We're going to be able to solve all medical problems and everything. And then it was like, oh, all of it's got labelled as junk. That's weird. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't seem to be doing anything in here. And, there don't seem to be enough genes to code everything. And I thought there would be more. And why isn't there a gene for each thing? And, what's going on, right? And it turns out it's not just the genes, right? It's the way that it's folded when it's doing that. So the 3D structure matters. So some of those junk sections would be folded in some parts and then not in others, right? So that then those genes are not fully expressed or turned off and on. So it wasn't just the sequence. Yeah, it's how is that sequence expressed? How is that sequence folded up in a 3D shape? And then the other things like histones and caps and all sorts of stuff. So the job was not, it was actually just the beginning, right? To put a martial arts spin on it, because, got martial arts background, right? It's like when you think you get your black belt, that you get your first dan black belt, and you're like, yeah, boy, yeah, I got the shit. And they're just like, this means the training really starts now, right? Yeah, you've qualified to begin. Yeah. Well done. It holds your trousers up. Let's get going now, son. Okay? It's that exact same thing. Yeah? We're going to have that with brain scans. We're going to get a complete scanned brain map, and everyone's going to dance up and down and sing, and then they're going to be like, we haven't figured it out yet. Yeah? So be prepared for that. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Development of BCI systems has advanced from simple EEG recording to a really efficient brain-computer communication. Yeah, it has gone on leaps and bounds. The BCI acquires signals from the brain, then analyzes them and translates them into particular commands. Thus, this allows a complete or partial replacement of peripheral devices like the mouse, the computer keyboard I am tapping to make this paper move down, mouse, joystick, whatever you want. Yeah. A touchscreen, of course, now, mostly those, yeah, to perform an action. BCI, to perform an action. BCI, from the terminology viewpoint, refers to a system which measures and uses signals acquired from the central nervous system, CNS, which means that, e.g., voice-activated and muscle-activated systems could not be called a BCI. Yeah, nope, not those. According to the definition, single electrocephalogram is not a BCI either, because it is only a measurement appliance and does not provide any feedback to its user. Okay, so just pure scans don't do the job either. Yeah. Although you could use a scan, and an interpreter of that scan to like poke you, or or whatever, or send a signal or something when they see a certain type of brain thing. So that you could develop a system that has a feedback loop in it, right? With that technology. Obviously, it is equally incorrect to perceive BCIs as mind-reading devices, because it is impossible to extract unwilling information from users or their particular thoughts. At the moment. Yeah. Thus, BCI enable the user to carry out direct action only with their brain activity without muscle engagement. Yeah. There's a new paper recently, though, about thought AI is extracting information signal from brain scans, and yeah, they were pretty good at finding the signal for certain stuff. So yeah, be prepared for that. Yeah, like we're looking at like all these live data, and just be like, oh, there's a lot of complicated stuff going on it, and 90 billion parameter deep learning model is looking at it and going, this means tea time, this means horny, this means hungry, right? And it's pulling out the signals, and making associated, and then it'll hallucinate, and the other one thinks means pink elephant, whilst the guy was obviously thinking of just a regular grey elephant. Madness, right? Yeah. Anyway, so the acquired brain signals are originally amplified and then digitized, which simplifies extraction of the particular signal's characteristics or patterns, and then translating them into commands. The obtained result identifies the types of users' reaction and constitutes one of the mandatory elements of the feedback loop. Okay, we got a picture. Maybe I'll use this as the title card here. So let's walk through it. So so scan of the brain. Start off with the brain. Something like an EEG or ECOG takes a signal, raw signal. This gets digitized. And then this signal processing gets done with an extraction algorithm of some kind, and that would be, that could be your AI point there, right? You could also do signal cleaning as well at an earlier step, so like Fourier transforms and stuff. Pre digitization, right? So you could just do that on the raw shape of the signal, right? So you could do it you could do geometry stuff on it before it becomes digitized. That's an option as well. Then that goes to a device with which could be communication tool, environmental control, a movement control of a limb, locomotion, or a neuro rehabilitation. And then that, the most important thing is that something of that produces feedback, yeah? Either visually, so you see the limb moving, you see the text coming up, right? The environment changes in some way, or the object moves in some way, right? But you need to have feedback, yeah? Because if you just send it out into space, you're not going to be able to train this thing, yeah? So that is the loop, yeah? And how are we doing for time? We'll do one more block of stuff. Brain signals, which represent the overall electrophysiological activity of the brain nerve cells, are obtained either from the surface of the scalp or directly from the cortical surface. Yeah, so that's invasive versus non-invasive. So either you're going on here or you're going in there, right? It is a voltage fluctuation generated by neurons, which can reflect changes of different human body states. Yeah, like I said, it isn't the full picture. Yeah, it's not a complete brain scan of every interaction that's happening. It is a second order effect, like what are the voltage changes from the interactions. It's very good. It is a step in the right direction, but it's not the whole picture. A majority of non-invasive BCI systems are based on EEG data. The invasive BCIs are mostly based on signals recorded directly from the brain, yeah? Electrocortiography. The electrocardiogram, ECOGC, is an invasive signal reflecting recordings of electrical activity of the brain, which is trained by macroelectrodes, which are 2 to 3 millimeters in diameter. So this is not something tiny. Like, this is a visible thing, yeah, placed directly on the cortex surface. In it goes on the brain. Yeah, sci-fi. and was developed, it started off early though, 1930 by Penfield and Jasper as a technique applied for epileptic seizure foci detection. So obviously at the beginning they weren't that sensitive. They had to start somewhere, and when a epileptic seizure happens, it's like, they were called brainstorms at one point, right? Like literally all of that electricity, that signal just goes fucking haywire, right? So that was probably, that was a good place to start, because it was just like signal on, really high, everything going together, a signal off, right? There's a bunch of zeros and ones, right? Now, and then once you've got that system at the beginning, you can start detecting when people are having seizures, and you get good feedback from it, because when he's having a fucking seizure, right? Then that's a good place to start, and then the technology sort of went on from there. So, figure 2, the different methods for recording electrical activity in the brain. So they're going to talk through the different ones. They've got 1 in non-invasive and 2 invasive. So the EE. Come on. Let's see. Open up the whole picture. Zoom out. Here we go. EEG, electroencephalogram, is non-invasive, and that's when they put stickers on your scalp. Okay. Sometimes they have to shave people. Yeah. Even as this technology gets better and better, if you have a massive mop of wonderful curly hair, you might have to cut it short, I'm afraid. Yeah. That happened in a story. Yeah. So you can have a look at that. Yes. The Dr. Ling Shi, the coding cat, wonderful genius, beautiful natural curly hair, which is rare on a Chinese lady. Fabulous, huge, and always wonderful. Had to cut it, unfortunately. Yeah, so she could get a brain-computer interface to work. Electrocardiogram, ECOG. So many of these E's and C's and G's. So this is from inside the surface of the cortex. So this is invasive. You're going to have to cut the skull open, get in there. But it's a similar type of thing. We're talking about those little, not diodes. Okay, so we're talking about little electric things that you can stick on, right? But you're going to stick them directly onto the surface of the cortex. So you're not going into the brain, you're just sticking it on the top layer. And then we have intracortical recordings. And this is highly invasive, right? So, and this means that you literally have to, you're sticking the diodes, the 2 to 3 millimeter things in the brain. So you're going to need proper brain surgery, cutting it open, getting right in there. But then, of course, you have the benefit, you get into all the different parts, right? So you're not just reading from the top. Yeah, so there we go. Let's come back. So different methods for activity. So the more invasive you get, the more stronger and better quality signals you get. It's a pretty simple rule, right? So ECOG recordings, so the ones on the stickers in the brain, provide stronger and better quality signals than just EEG, the stickers on the top of the skull, mainly because of the following. Spatial resolution in the millimeter scale, so you can zone in more. Frequency bandwidth, I don't know how that helps, but different frequencies, 200 hertz or higher, better frequencies, don't know. Amplitude of up to 100, again, I'm not familiar with this, right? So, but numbers better, okay? Better numbers. Reduced sensitivity to movement and myoelectrical artifacts. Yeah, so this would be the other two big things, right? You've got something on the top of the head. If you're jiggling around in your chair all the time, maybe it's slipping and it's not hitting the same brain region each time. Maybe something to think about, Dr. Ling Shi, right? Yeah, sit still, lass. Yeah, okay, and then reduce sensitivity and then myoelectrical artifacts. Yeah, so you could get somebody just walks past. Yeah, hey buddy, have you seen this meme? Like, and then his brain's fried. No, not quite. But the signals might go haywire, right? If you're exposed to other electrical devices, right? So yeah, you might get artifacts. Yeah, ghosts in the machine. No, like these. We haven't completed the loop. Yeah, we will come back to that later. Yeah, so we're recording signals, we're sending them out and getting feedback from our own senses. Yeah, that's safe. Yeah, okay. We haven't gone to the point where we're then sending signals directly back in using that, right? Because that's the end state. Yeah, and that gives you the ability to make connections between computers and brains. And also, interestingly, and we'll finish here, connections, if you have two people with this, you can get direct brain to brain, mind to mind connections. Which, imagine that, right? Imagine having someone that you're close to that you can literally share each other's thoughts. I think that, that would change human interactions, I think, in a fundamental way. Just imagine that for people that are close to you, like a lover, yeah, or somebody that you really care about. If you could, rather than guessing, if you could hear their thoughts, and they can hear yours, that that would be so amazing, right? And maybe it would reduce miscommunication. Maybe you could really see what each other desire fully. Mind-to-mind connected sex. Wow. Yeah. Might be the best thing ever, right? And you'd see very rapidly if they weren't having a good time. Yeah, if they were bored, upset, frustrated, you'd figure that out straight away, right? So there would be no position for lying. Yeah. You could share fantasies. So, well, rather than saying, "Oh, I'd love to go on that holiday together," you could both imagine that holiday together. You could plan it. You could work out exactly what you want to do together. And if you didn't line up, some boundaries, you didn't fully see eye to eye on certain things, it would come out right away. So would it make relationships better? It would make them different. It'd make them very different. It would be something that you would be so like, should we do mind to mind? Like, I don't think we're ready for that yet. It would be like, we've had sex a bunch of times, but we're not ready for this. People would be like married and be like, we're not doing that. Yeah. So I think it would just accentuate stuff that already happens, because you can have relationships that are like that anyway, can't you? Where you feel like there's a really strong connection with someone, so you open up to them faster. Things move quickly, but then they can end quickly as well. So yeah, I wrote a story about this. So the story is called Connection. It is about a mind-to-mind connection, and it's about the themes of intense two people that feel that they have a connection, and then this technology accelerating it. And then it's also about the pains of things breaking apart in a digital world, and ghosting, and no longer being able to talk to each other, and things like that. So yeah, and like all my work, I think I might even come with a catchphrase, deeply nerdy, pretty horny, but straight from the heart. And that's me, So It's been a year. I still think about her every day. Every day. Yeah. I miss you, Manga Girl. Yeah. Anyway, if you've ever had something like that, something that was short and brief and wonderful, and then was over before you knew it, and it left you clutching at your skull, banging your head against the wall, crying into a pillow, or anything like that, then please read the story. Yeah, connection means a lot to me. So yeah, I'll see you guys. Like I said, this topic area, connections between people. This one means a lot to me. It's very powerful. Not just the ability to rebuild lives, improve human connections, potentially fight against future AI. Bring man and machine together. But I think also there is a potential for these kind of brain to brain technologies. Yeah. So once you can create a computer signal between two people, it has a beautiful and wonderful potential to bring people together to communicate in an entirely new way, which I think would be really cool. But not necessarily not painful as well. Yeah. Because all connections, when you are open and when you are vulnerable, leave you vulnerable to pain, which is the sad thing. But you got to do it. Can't just close yourself off. To live authentically is to live with vulnerability, as hard as that is. See you all next time.